unapologetically afraid to express sadness? Do you think sadness is needed for growth? Do you think sadness is needed to progress? Do you think sadness can be useful? Is it a tool?
You can't choose your feelings. Welcome back to the Ironed Out podcast. This is episode 3. Today we're tackling sadness. We're going to talk about how it manifests in our lives and the last times we were sad. We've got loads of questions lined up, but that's Connor's job, so we'll just jump straight into it. But my first question to you is, when was the last time you were sad?
Last time I was sad, that is a good question. The last time I was sad was actually fairly recently. Reason being, I feel like I'm quite an emotive person. I feel like I experience severe highs and severe lows, and I ride life as it comes. So last time I was sad, really honest to God sad, was probably within the last year. You know, it's been somewhat of a tough year. I think it's been a real challenging year. There's been lots of opportunities for growth. But yeah, when I was last sad was definitely throughout this last year. I don't think I could pinpoint, but I think I could summarize. Yeah. What about you, Will?
I think the last time I was sad was probably January and February of this year, when YouTube wasn't quite generating, well, it wasn't generating any money. It was like 60 quid a month, if that. And I had no gigs booked. And in January, I lost my voice and got ill in the same month separately. So I had to cancel any gigs that I did have in January, which is going to make it my best January ever. It went to being like my worst.
Yeah.
And my February just never, that I got booked for Valentine's Day, as you always do in February, but the months or the dates around that were just completely empty. And the stress and sadness I felt while going through that, and it was my first ever January and February. I always knew it was going to be difficult months.
Yeah.
But going through that when you have the responsibility to pay rent and bills and all of this stuff, definitely got to me. And became very overwhelming. I remember speaking to my dad on the phone the day every night. I don't know what I'm going to do. And he's like, remember that whenever things are tough, they're never as bad as they seem. Whenever things are good, they're never as good as they seem. And just, it's when you're in that moment of sadness, it's really difficult for you to think that there's a way out.
Yeah. And
I guess that's how sadness bleeds into depression, is you feel like you're exitless. You're trapped. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not the truth, but it's definitely how you feel in that moment. You feel small, you feel beaten, you're defeated is another way of putting it. And
so what I'm hearing is sadness has a lot of crossover with self-worth or how you view yourself. So you were saying there you experienced a really challenging time when your financial situation was challenging, and your questions of how you could provide or how you could show up personally, professionally, relationship-wise were tested. So sadness is very much in tandem with self-worth. Is that what you're suggesting?
I would definitely say so.
Okay. So how do you feel like your self-worth was affected during that time?
I mean, you just feel like the smallest thing in the world.
How does that feel as well? Like, as feeling the smallest thing in the world, that's something we can all visualize, but I think we forget that emotions are also in the body as well. So like, talk us through, how did you mentally interpret it, and how did it feel? How did it sit in that body?
Yeah, I mean, in my body, it sat more in like my neck. I had the lump in my throat. It was right on the edge of crying, that bit, but I was there for like hours. And eventually, obviously we can get on coping mechanisms later, but eventually I was able to dig myself out of that in a matter of hours. But it would cycle round day after day as I realised that today I still hadn't made any more.
Yeah.
And the bills were coming closer and closer. And I managed to just about survive January. And then in my mind straight away, it's the clock's running for the next rent. And I can't see, I've got no money coming in. So then it's just, as always, with me, straight down to work mode. And
so what advice would you give to people that are feeling trapped, that feel that their self-worth is wrapped up in their sadness, or vice versa, that they feel like there's no way out, or the sadness feels all-encompassing, like it's all around them, it's thick, it's murky, there's paddling to try and get above water and they just can't?
It's really tough. Really tough. There's no quick 5-step plan to get out of sadness, not that I've found. The the only bit of advice I would have is that whenever you think things are bad, they're not as bad as they look.
Mm-hmm.
There's always somebody else's perspective, maybe just talking to somebody. And it doesn't need to be a particularly close person, but just the fact that somebody else will have another perspective on life, they're coming at life from a different angle, can help you process your emotions and it sounds bad, but put your problems into perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that your problems aren't worse than that person's, but you can at least know what their level is.
Yeah.
And justify and rationalize that if they're okay, then I'm only 1 or 2 degrees more sad than they are, or my problems are only 1 or 2 degrees more problematic than theirs. So you can sort of find your place in the world, and then you're not directionless, and then you can work towards trying to get out of it. But it's something you definitely work at it. It's not one of those things that's just over.
Practice.
It's practice. It's determination. It's drive to want to be in a better position.
Constant battle. But what I'm hearing as well is the ability to work with others. So I know when I've experienced times that have been really challenging for me, I feel extremely isolated. I think I say this to you all the time. I feel like I've just hermited for a month, for a year, because I feel like I've withdrawn, which is one of the hardest things of sadness. Is it's so isolating. It feels so insular for oneself. At least that's how I experienced, especially during the last year. I felt so removed from normal life. But what you're saying is it's okay to be authentically yourself with other people.
Absolutely.
Would you encourage that?
I would. I think it's the only way. You can fake something, but you're just building up a profile to other people that you are different to who you are, so you'll never fix your problems.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, when we think of oneself, we think of, say, the ego. I think we attach ego to the constant idea of being like outward and confident in this and that. Ego is really the view of oneself, in my opinion. And yeah, I think it's something along the lines of like the ego can only receive praise, it can't receive love. So when you're feeling like you're isolating yourself, you're not going to be able to receive that love. You're not going to be able to receive that kindness, that care, that connection, that community that we need to pick ourselves up. Because ultimately, our best resource sometimes is other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go back to what we were saying yesterday. It's, finding your tribe. That's why you want to find your tribe. It's so that you have these people, a support network in place. And I think it's social media, despite putting you in contact with so many people, it doesn't feel like close connection. It feels like some sort of semi-removed, heartless connection. Whereas meeting in person, you pick up other people's vibrations. You're with them.
It's raw. You can understand. You can see. I think as we go through into this digital world, we're actually losing the ability to read social cues.
Absolutely.
We're losing that ability to read connections. Like those subtle signals that we give out because we're looking at a screen. It can be so damaging.
You can't leave somebody on red in person.
Or just be really rude.
But yeah, those people are called rude if you do it in real life. If you do it on message, people might say, oh, they left me on red. But it's way more accepted.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's because everyone's done it.
Yeah. Hey. So, Will, are you afraid to authentically be yourself? I'm going to ask that again. Are you authentically afraid to express sadness? Are you afraid to express sadness in an authentic way?
I think I am. I think I get to the point of, I might have told you this before, but I really struggle to cry for sad reasons. I'm really good at like getting a tear in my eye for happy reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And if I see like a really driven person that's gone from, bottom of the bottom and have been able to work their way up and they've achieved their goal, that I find really emotional and like I'm happy for them, and I also sort of feel like that person, even though I've been very privileged, I think, with my start, and I can relate to that. So I feel emotional in that way, but it's not sadness. Do I express my sadness authentically? I don't think I do. I think I'm very good at catching it so fast that I can stop it before it gets any further. And my immediate thing is I feel sad, lump in my throat, gonna cry, and in that split 2 seconds I've already been. Crying doesn't help. Let's move on.
Do you think that serves you, stunting your emotions
It's definitely served me professionally.
personally?
Personally, I don't know.
Where do you think you'd be if you could authentically express sadness? Albeit there are other emotions that are there that maybe are being expressed or are not being expressed, but if in the context of sadness, do you think your life would be significantly different? Do you think there'd be changes? Where do you think you'd be if you could authentically express sadness?
I think it would allow me to be far more compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, at least I appear to be, and probably am, very unemotional, very non-compassionate, very good at trying to solve the problem rather than hearing it out.
Sure.
Is a big one, and that might be like just a guy thing anyway. So we our brains are wired to
We're
fix
fixers.
problems. That's
yeah.
it. However, just being able to be more empathetic would really help me out in my personal life.
So being present with yourself. What I mean by that is if you were showing up for me, if I was expressing some of the challenges I've had this past year, as you know, it's been a tough year. You've been reliable for me because you have shown up, you've been present, and you've been actively engaged. Do you think you could practice the same skill set towards yourself? Or what's stopping you from practicing that same skill set for yourself?
I think it's making the time to do it. I fill my days with stuff, and it's all professional stuff, and that is because I'm very goal driven. So unless like if I see a whole day free, that day is no longer free. I'm filling that with things that will move me closer to my goal. Emotions and processing personal stuff doesn't even come into my thought process for any of it. If going forward I find a day, it's okay, I have this day off and maybe Sophie's at work, I have this day. Could I set aside an hour to just sit with myself and really think, how am I doing? Am I okay? Is everything going all right? I think a lot of my emotional processing tends to happen just before I go to bed, generally, because you're falling asleep, you're not on your phone, you're not working,
no distractions.
No distractions, and quite often I meditate. I'm not as consistent as I used to be with it, but I try and meditate when I can. And sometimes you get those questions that just fly into your head, and you try and sort of just sit with them and see what comes up. And that's probably my process at the moment for it. But as I say, it's not a big consideration because my brain is just so quick to.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you what you're doing. Logic is here.
Do you know what I hear? Is judgment. Let me expand on that.
Please do.
If you were sitting down with Soph, you were sitting down with myself, and I expressed something I was feeling, you wouldn't outwardly express any judgment towards me.
No.
But I feel like when we come to ourselves, we judge our emotions. You know? There's a very famous author that suggests it's okay to feel the emotion. What's not okay is the guilt that you feel for feeling that emotion.
Yeah.
You know, like if I feel sad, now I'm going to feel bad about feeling sad, or that just leads to self-loathing.
Yeah.
You know, like if I feel happy, now I feel bad about feeling happy. Well, that's pride and that's shame. You know, it's ironic that we have such strict rules for ourselves. But when it comes to others, we're able to look with more compassionate eyes. Why do you think that is? Are we our own worst critics? Are we just designed to be our own worst enemy? Are we just designed to put ourselves down? Or is this a discussion that we're having because maybe we feel emotions? Do you think other people have these questions about sadness? You know, I'm curious whether there's other people that do judge themselves when they get sad. You know, they go, oh, wow, I'm feeling sad. They have a good cry, good cup of tea, good bubble bath, good gym session, whatever it might be, and they feel great. You know, they felt that emotion. They've gone, oh, I feel better now.
Yeah. And you do hear people saying, oh, after I've had a good cry, I feel great.
Yeah.
That's just something I've never been able to actually do. I think when you're dealing with somebody else's sadness and somebody else's situation, quite often you don't know the full scope of the situation as well. You're obviously only getting the insight from their eyes, number one, but also what they remember in that one sitting of talking to you about it. So it's very difficult for you to make judgments, number one, because you don't know if you've got complete information. There might be some context you're really missing, that's the true reason why they're feeling sad. So even when somebody opens up, I think quite regularly they've opened up, but then it's sort of the surface level stuff. It's really difficult for somebody to open up with their true deepest sadness. And so when you're talking to somebody, I've always got that in the back of my mind. Okay, what is the real issue? I have the same thing when Soph's annoyed with me. It's like, there's no way that me, not washing up that one cup got you this upset. What's the true issue?
And what's the root cause?
Yeah, sometimes I might ask to her face, but quite often it's, if you ask her about her day later, you'll find out that there was actually so many things that went on at work and so many things that happened on the way home or whatever. Or there's been she got a phone call, it wasn't great or whatever. And these can be the true causes. And yeah, so when you're with, but also there's a certain thing of going back to the wanting to be accepted of the group. You want to just listen to somebody and provide compassion because you want to be a valued member of that group as well. It's, you want to not only show your value in terms of being present, but show your value in terms of I am that shoulder to cry and I am that person who can be there for you.
Yeah. Do you think people feel guilty for sharing their sadness?
I think it depends on who they're sharing it with. For example, if you go on a first date and you start pouring your heart out, I promise you that first date will not be very compassionate because you don't have a strong relationship with them. If you go to a group of friends that you've known for 10 plus years, then they're going to know you on a deeper level. You'll feel more instantly comfortable to share. And therefore, I think it would actually be more beneficial to share because you'll get deeper down to what the root cause is.
Yeah.
And, it's a difficult one. It's really difficult. Yeah, I mean, what would be your thoughts?
I think people do feel guilt when they're expressing sadness to other people. I'm not saying it's everyone, because everyone's nuanced, everyone's different. I think that's one thing we forget, is everyone's living their own vivid, complex, wild, crazy lives, and we forget how other people interpret things. But I certainly experience guilt when I express sadness. I feel and I embody shame when I express sadness because it's bad enough I feel like I can't control my own emotions, let alone feel like I'm reaching out or asking for help. I feel in that moment weak, and I know that's false, and I know if anything it's strong to ask for help, and I know as young men we've not been told to do that, or especially maybe our generation, we've been told as young men we shouldn't ask for help. You can't ask for help. We are strong, we're rigid, we're powerful, we're independent. I think there's a lot of people, myself included, that feel guilt and feel shame about expressing sadness. And I think that manifests into other unhealthy habits. Sadness can then manifest into gambling. It can manifest into drinking, drug abuse, overfixation on exercise, work. I think sadness can manifest in so many ways.
Any vice.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to check in with our body, because I think it's one thing to say, I can intellectually tell you I'm feeling sad. I can tell you straight faced, Will, I am sad. That doesn't mean shit. If I feel it and I show you what I'm feeling in my body, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. And I think, as a lot of people have been taught, you just feel it here, you don't feel it here.
Yeah.
And I think here is where the work is. I think our body gives off so many signals. So many signals. Like you say, you felt it in your throat. For me, it's in my stomach. It feels heavy. I feel like I'm breathing into my chest. My stomach. It's feels like a pit. It's dark and it's lonely. And it's scary. So I feel shameful for having to ask for help to get out of it. That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Did you know Huel is giving £10 off your first order when you use our link down below in the description? Connor, what is your favourite flavour of Huel? Remind me.
I've told you, it's chocolate. You disagree, but it's incorrect.
Yeah, there's just disgusting. I don't know how you do it. Mine is berry, and yeah, I keep drinking it. I'm addicted at this point. But it's great. It's nutritionally complete and means that you don't have to eat. So if you're working at your desk a lot like I do, you don't have to eat meals, and all your friends will moan at you because you only have a pan of chocolate for breakfast, and you don't have anything for lunch, you don't have anything for dinner until your girlfriend comes back home. But then sometimes she doesn't even cook for you because, you know, I don't even know what she does anymore. But yeah, check out Huel down below because I love it.
Very nice.
It's really difficult as well because the logical part of your brain is obviously saying this is fine. It's absolutely fine. But the people think they can think their way out of feelings.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll do a good little bit about this to anyone who will listen to me. You don't choose what you like in life because otherwise you'd choose that you like every song, so you'd never be disappointed with what was on the radio. You don't get to choose, you know, your interests. These are all things that for some reason are predetermined. No, I don't know who writes the code for it, but for some reason there's a reason why you like that song and that person doesn't. And it's the same with emotions. You don't get to choose how you feel. You don't. There's no way you get to choose what you feel. You can't think your way out of it. What you can do is block emotions. That's not the same as just choosing to be happy. Or I feel sad. I feel a deep sadness. But logically, I'm now okay.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. You have got to find the time to sit with it, process it, and deal with it. But I think this is why it takes different people different lengths of time to cope with their sadness, because the person who is sitting with their sadness for an hour a day is obviously going to process that faster than the person who's doing it for 5 minutes a day. Or not at all, or just blocking it off, and then it's still being a problem and causing a trauma response for years in the future. Because dealing with it, also, it's the same with anything you put off. It becomes a bigger and more daunting task to then do.
Absolutely.
And
the problem isn't the thing. Your fear of the thing is the problem.
That's it.
Yeah. And I like what you said about you can't think your way out of feelings.
You can't. They're there.
I like it. It's so simple, but it's so effective. It's so true. So I've got a question for you. Sadness. Do you think sadness is attached to memories, or is sadness in the present moment? What I mean by that is, are you experiencing the sadness that you felt when your partner broke up with you, when your parents passed away, when you lost the dream job that you wanted, when you had to move home after being away from traveling for so long? Is the sadness in the memory, or is the sadness in the present moment?
I think sadness is in the memory, not the present moment. The way that I'd look at it is there's same condition, new behaviour. For example, you grow up in your family home and move back as an adult for whatever reason, and insert your life here. You move back home for whatever reason. You moved away and you came back. Same condition. You're living in the family home, but is the feeling or behaviour different? And if the answer is yes, then it's because you're comparing yourself or focusing on what could have been or what happened to bring me here. Whereas when you were in the home originally, you aren't thinking about those things. You're living your life. So that, I would say, is the present, because you're living your life. And yes, you might be in the moment of just dreaming on what you want to be, and that's sort of a separate issue. But in the present, if you move back, you're like, okay, but I was just, surfing in X, Y, and Z, wherever people surf. You're the surfer dude, I don't know. Many places. I've not been there.
Look it up.
Look it up. You're just reflecting back. And I think it's the same with breakups. It's that in the moment, you were not experiencing the breakup. That bit happened. You've had that conversation, whether it was over the phone, whether it was in person, whether it was in a restaurant, whether it was, on the French de bleu. It doesn't matter. It's not happening now because you're sat there processing your emotions, feeling it, and you're reminiscing in a memory. You're not actually in that. And that is why it's so easy to ignore and push to one side, because in the moment I can see around me that there's no immediate cause of sadness. But that can also make you feel smaller because you hate yourself for feeling sad when you can see in your local environment that there's nothing wrong.
But emotions aren't tangible, are they? They're in the body, they're stored.
That's it.
And we got to release them. I'm reminded of, I think it's a Buddhist principle of, if you're anxious, you're in the present. If you're sad, you're in the past. If you're content, you're in the present.
That's brilliant.
I might have said it wrong, but
the sentiment's there.
Yeah, the sentiment's wrong. If you're anxious, you're in the future. If you're sad, you're in the past. If you are content, you are in the present. And I think Andrew Huberman has a similar mindset for it, which is you're either flat-footed, forward center of mass, or back center of mass. He uses it a lot more in a physiological standpoint of where you are sort of in yourself, how much energy you've got, how much recharge time you need, but I think it's very similar.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar in the sense that it's very easy to get consumed by memories, especially if you're not growing on the memories. What I mean by that is someone that's went through a bad breakup or has got PTSD or has got sadness from losing a job or anything to that extent. The pain is in the memory, but you need to go through the pain of the memory to become better. If you're just going to sit in that memory, that pain's not going to go. You have to work through it.
Yeah.
There's evidence to suggest now that talk therapy is both beneficial and challenging. Beneficial in the sense that it allows you to process, but challenging in the sense that if you are just talking about it again and again and again, you're just maybe re-traumatizing yourself. So it has to be somewhat outcome orientated.
Yeah.
What do I want to gain out of this? I need to feel these emotions. I need to acknowledge they're there. I need to allow them the space that they need, and then I can let them go. I think it's a lot about releasing. I think it's tough, though.
Really difficult. Because it can't be thought out of.
No.
It's, and you might want to get over something like tomorrow, but your body is going to let you know when it's time for you to let go of something and move on. And you don't get to decide that because you're not in control of your emotions. It's a very difficult place to be.
It is. What does unexpressed sadness look like? Both maybe for yourself and for others. How does that look like? Unexpressed sadness.
I think it can present in a number of ways. In me, it generally just turns into being more stressed or doing more work. If you see me really focusing in on something, it's because I don't want to be distracted. That's my way of actually getting through it sometimes.
The way out is through.
Absolutely. With other people, you can be, when people feel sad or threatened or something's not gone the way that they expected, it can present in anger. It's like, I'm just going to lash out because I'm feeling sad. Some people, it will just be immense sadness and nobody can console them. What's been your experience with that? How does sadness sort of present in you? And then if you choose to conceal your sadness, have you noticed any changes in your mood?
For me, sadness presents as isolation. If you see me withdraw, if I'm not at social events, if I don't reply to messages, if I isolate myself, if I tell you I'm too busy, then I'm sad. I've got to the point where I feel like I can no longer pretend. I can no longer have that facade up of Connor's okay. Connor's going to keep going, be okay through this time. Unexpressed sadness sits and it makes me want to do nothing. It makes me want to stay at home. This is how I know I have challenges with like bouts of sort of depression. I feel like sometimes I'll just hit a few days where, me, I love going out. I love being outside. I love going to the gym. If I don't have the energy to go outside for a walk or go to the gym, I'm like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
But the ironic thing is I never realized until a few days after. I'm not feeling very well. Feeling quite, I'm just feeling tired. Maybe I won't go to the gym. Maybe I won't go outside for the walk, for the nature, for the fresh air. And then 3 days later, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling kind of shit. Hindsight's amazing.
Yeah.
I think unexpressed sadness pulls the strings behind the scenes.
Mm.
And I think it's a constant battle to look behind the curtain and see what is pulling those strings.
Have you heard what Jim Carrey says about depression and sadness?
Yeah.
He says, think about the word depressed. Deep rest. It's your body needs deep rest from playing the character that you've been playing.
Mm.
And he was, he's a comedian as well, so he goes on this funny thing that I can't remember because I'm not funny. But but it's a really good insight, I think. And obviously that's probably not where the word comes from, but it's a great way to think about it in terms of, okay, if I am feeling like I need to withdraw, it's probably because when I'm living my life, I'm trying to be something that I'm authentically not.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So whenever I've felt fully withdrawn, and there's only sort of one time in my life, and that was sort of at the beginning of my breakup, I've very quickly sort of realized if I've withdrawn like this, it's because I was in a situation where I wasn't authentically me, and that was the problem. Anything else around that then became irrelevant, and I didn't care. Because I realized that the only thing I can change in this world is me, fundamentally.
Mm.
So if I can take as much responsibility as possible from whatever the situation was, you can then be the catalyst to change it.
So you think sadness can come from a lack of authenticity?
For sure.
Do you think that's what sadness is telling us, or always trying to tell us?
Obviously, there's situations like the loss of a family member.
Grief.
Yeah. I would say grief is different to sadness.
Okay.
Because grief is you processing something that you were probably in a helpless position to do anything about anyway.
Okay.
So it's just the processing of that. But acknowledging, and this is sort of bleeding into coping mechanisms, acknowledging that the past is the past, and that if somebody's died, they're dead. There's nothing you can do. It sucks. There's nothing you can do. But when you're with that person, maybe you have regrets. Maybe you wish you'd told them something. Maybe you wish you'd apologized for the certain thing before they went. But you can't change that now. So you can do all the things like writing the apology on a note and setting it on fire and whatever. But I would say that's if they're in hell. Surely you set it on fire. You need to hot air balloon it or something. There's all those sort of coping mechanisms. At the end of the day, wallowing in sadness while processing it is obviously you need to sit with it, but try and I suppose I've always compartmentalized, and that's however I've always got through it because there's a time and place for sadness because I need to crack on with this. The problem is you can quite easily neglect to go back.
I was going to say, isn't that avoidance? Isn't that a very tight line between avoidance and handling it? I think something that's really helped me is understanding when there's grief, when there's pain, when there's sadness is there's times to look under the rug and there's times to leave the rug alone. And it's understanding that there's going to be times where it's going to be hard. There's times where you need to ignore it, but it's not being afraid to go, and then eventually you get further and you weed it out and you clean underneath and you're like, oh shit, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
That's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah. The sadness can be a challenge. Grief absolutely is a challenge. And I think sadness is the catalyst. I know there's absolutely then mental health issues that come into this of depression, anxiety, bipolar. There's a lot more that can be expanded upon. And we're not just ignoring them out of choice. We are just trying to focus on sadness at this point because there's definitely arguments to be made. There's definitely neurological elements at play for a large amount of people as well. And we can't just disregard that. But sadness, you think, can be a good indicator that something is wrong.
Yeah.
And it takes deep work to understand what it is. Deep rest.
Yeah.
To understand what it is.
That's it. When you just can't play the part anymore.
So would you say if sadness is needed from that point, or sorry, sadness is telling us that something is wrong, do you think sadness is needed for growth? Do you think sadness is needed to progress? Do you think sadness can be useful? Is it a tool?
I think it can be used in the same way as fear, as in you run away from fear
Mm-hmm.
and you run away from sadness because everyone is always chasing, oh, I want to be happy. I want to do the next thing. I want to move on. I want to, progress. And if you think about it in terms of a scale, you've probably got fear, sadness, anxiety, depression, grief, all on this side. You've got happiness, excitement, surprise, like positive things on this side. And I think generally, unless you're some sort of anarchist, you're always trying to get closer to the positive side than you are the negative, which is really funny because humans have a negativity bias.
Yeah.
So you will naturally feel more negative towards things. And it's because your brain is better at threat detection than it is finding positive things.
Kept us safe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, but also because humans have moved on so quickly, because we had rapid brain growth.
But our brains still haven't developed, man. In the grand scheme of things, we are
Wow.
still, like, we still got a monkey brain in there, man.
As in, we've been able to build shelter and industry and
Yeah.
civilized society. And with that, a culture that forgets that we're still all animals and will respond to things with emotions.
We just got to develop frontal lobe. Like, we're monkeys with developed frontal lobe. I'm probably wrong, but I'm not a scientist.
But in society, if you're feeling really depressed and you don't go to work for a month, like, yeah, you can get signed off sick. But actually, if you're in corporate America, it's bye-bye. Or corporate England or corporate anywhere. Nobody's got time for you.
Yeah, true.
And they might change their policies because of the way they want to be seen, but the fundamental culture of the companies is that's unacceptable still.
So what I'm hearing is a suggestion similar to, we forget that happiness isn't a goal, it's an emotion. Happiness is the journey, not the destination, because you experience happiness the same way you would experience sadness. So if we remember
by the way, that is just genius what you've just said. That fixes everything that everyone has ever said. Because everyone's always like, I'm on a journey towards happiness. Once I achieve this goal, I'll be happy. It's like, no.
Happiness is emotion.
That is the smartest thing you've ever said.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I've said a lot of smart things.
Yeah.
I've not.
None come to mind. I'm sure you have at some point.
Yeah, just not on this podcast, apparently.
No, my memory is terrible. You feel sad, happiness, and you feel sadness. They're just emotions, and they're flip sides of the same coin.
They're yin and yang.
And you are the coin. Stop trying to chase down something. It's like you don't do things to necessarily make you happy because you don't decide what you feel ever.
Have you heard the proverb, this too shall pass?
Rings a bell.
Yeah, I think it's a son comes home and he's had a hard day. I'm definitely paraphrasing and I can't remember verbatim, but son has a hard day, comes back to his father and he's really sad. He's really down, had a really hard day. Dad, I need some help. And he says, son, this too shall pass. Son comes home the next day. He's had a great day. He's overjoyed. He's just, had the best day ever. Father says, this too shall pass. Because he's trying to suggest, or at least how I interpret it, others can definitely disagree, that emotions are simply that. They are emotions. You sit in that emotion and then it will fade. You'll be in your happiness and you'll be in your sadness. And those are a normal, healthy balance of emotions. I think as well, another way to look at it, I quite like this. Like when you think of how English say, like, I am happy. Like, it's quite a confirmed I am happy. Like, I am happy. Whereas, look at, say, other Latin-based languages like Spanish, they say, like, estoy feliz. So, like, there's estoy and soy. Soy being I am, like, definitive. So, soy Connor. My name is Connor.
Yeah.
Estoy feliz. Like, I am happy. Like, I am experiencing happy. It's such a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
I am experiencing this emotion. I think sadness can be applied the same way. I'm experiencing sadness. Doesn't mean I am sadness. I'm not sadness. Like, I'm not sitting in sadness, but I'm experiencing it, and that's okay.
goes into that other conversation of body and mind as well. It's like, what am I? What's that? Well, it's not me, because that's my arm. It's like, what's that? That's my nose. It's not me. How do I see the world? Well, I see the world with my eyes, but my eyes belong to me.
Yeah.
Who am I?
When you start thinking like that, you start questioning a lot, which I think is good. I think it can be very helpful.
Send you down a deep dive of, okay, yeah, but I die without my body, so I must be my body. But that's my body. It's not me. It's like, who am I? I'm Will. No, but Will's just the name you were given. You aren't Will. Who are you?
It's like the spiritual argument of the soul versus the body. You know, the soul is, in my opinion, I lean towards the soul is what embodies the body, and the body is just the shell, the skin that you're wearing in many ways.
I think we are the conscious.
Yes.
And that is us. And we happen to have consciousness within a body.
Agreed.
And I think this is also a similar thing with animals. I think people don't give animals enough credit. I think if animals have got to this point in the world, obviously there's different evolutionary timelines. But, for example, crocodiles have been in their full state of evolutionary, like, they've finished. They've changed for millions of years. They know they can survive, so they've stayed, right? So their consciousness, I would argue, is more developed than human consciousness, but we just see it as another animal. And I think all animals instinctively know they don't want to die.
Agreed.
As well. So there's some level of, okay, there's threat around here, even in predators.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how I got into that, but
So you're saying you'll go vegan?
Hell no. I love a steak.
Man, it's funny. So we have all of these terms like sadness, anxiety, depression, and they are labeled negative emotions.
Are they negative? Done that in this.
Are they negative?
Yeah.
Or is that just something we've attached to them? Or is that wordplay, word association?
I think it's a way of humans compartmentalizing things. So it's, you want to have an easy way to package all the happy emotions and all the sad emotions. You because they are, there's a clear good and bad.
Okay.
Nobody likes feeling deeply sad. People might like a good cry, but nobody likes feeling sad. Nobody likes themselves being super angry. Nobody likes feeling depressed.
I feel like some people idolize the feelings, so they identify with the feelings. I am that person. I know when I was younger, I struggled a lot with self-harm. And now I'm older, well, not now, but when I was growing out of it, there was a part of me that was like, I wish that was still me. Like, I identified with it. It gave me a sense of identity. I think a lot of people identify with their traumas. I think identifying with your traumas can be unbelievably damaging.
I think so too. I think also, what's it called? Stockholm Syndrome, where you bring the people that are causing you the most pain closer.
Yeah. Is
a massive issue as well. And it's really difficult because psychologically that person's thinking, no, but they do love me. It's like a justification just because you couldn't ever let yourself think that I just continued to put myself in a bad situation on loop. It's like, no, there are good bits.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to admire people that really are able to objectively look at things from an outside perspective and go, okay, this person's actually not serving me, And I think that's a lot of troubles a relationship face. Is they look and go, this person's probably not serving me, but maybe it's harder to get broken up. Then we gotta find a new place. We gotta find someone new. We gotta start again. Or maybe it's just easier to stay where I am.
Yeah.
Isn't it something that suggests the 1 mile walk is harder than the 2 mile drive? What I mean by that is, if it's 1 mile walk, it's kind of a long way. But if you have to drive somewhere 2 miles, you'll do that right away. So if something is immediately wrong, you'll change it. But if something's subtly wrong, are we gonna address it, or is it worth it? Do I want to change it? Do I want to just accept that this is kind of my emotions? So negative connotations is maybe just a way of us understanding it.
Yeah,
But
think so.
I wonder if it's just caused more damage.
Mm.
Or maybe it's not even something that needs breaking down. My brain asks a lot of questions, you know this well.
Yeah.
I think about everything in so much depth.
It's really interesting. I personally I like the fact that we break it down into negative and positive.
Okay.
That's where my brain goes to, because it's, you can also be an ambassador for positivity.
Mm.
And that is what that does for the world is good. But obviously now with social media, it's become like a virtue signaling thing of like, I stand for positivity, and we can trample that negativity, and it's usually coming from an uneducated person like myself. But I say that I've got a degree now, so I'm not that dumb.
This is true.
Yeah,
I do not have a degree.
I think my graduation is November, but this is how dumb I'm going to miss it because I haven't even replied to any emails about it. I've told all my family the date, so they'll be there, but I won't be. I'll forget. I like segmenting it into sort of negativity and positivity, because then also, if you choose to align yourself and like fully internalize, no, I'm just a positive person, then negativity in my life hasn't been a thing for a long time, because I can see that that's a negative thing. I know that I want to be a positive person, so I try and steer my.
I'm going to counter.
Yeah, go for it.
You're saying sadness hasn't played a part in your life for a long time. What are your coping mechanisms, Will? What do you do to stop yourself from experiencing that sadness?
I mean, and I said I felt sadness in like January and February as well.
But arguably there is an internal dialogue. That's you repeating in your head, well, I'm not sad.
That is one of my coping mechanisms. But I also think if I can get through today and make it to tomorrow, and I don't die in the night, life goes on.
Reminds me of a quote. You've survived 100% of your worst days.
Yeah.
It's true. You have survived 100% of your worst days so far. So your track record's pretty good. Chances are you're going to get through this too.
Yeah.
But what are your coping mechanisms, Will? Don't swerve the subject. Talk to me.
My biggest coping mechanism with anything that I do, and it works, I have to say that because it works for more than just sadness, but it works for sadness as well, is I've been blessed with an immense sense of perspective in my life. I'm very good at putting everything in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That is my biggest coping mechanism for anything. If I'm sad, if I'm angry, if I'm happy. If, like I was talking to you before this, I had a day on YouTube where I got 10 million views and I didn't feel happy because I put it in perspective. It's like, today's just one day. If I have a bad day on YouTube, it's like, okay, today's just one day. It's still a one day. I make it to the end of the day and I survived. I didn't die. We're still, as Alex Hormozy says, we're just a ball spinning around a sun in a galaxy, in a universe. Whether or not I washed up a cup makes no difference. I lost a business deal. I lost a brand deal. I lost a brand deal yesterday, potentially. Okay, I'm on a rock spinning around a fireball.
So if your high is here, so if you're looking at a graph, the highest emotion of happiness you can feel is here. The lowest emotion you can feel is here. Where do you reckon you fluctuate in that graph?
I'm very shallow.
You think you're just almost flatlining?
I try.
You just kind of... Woo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning to celebrate the highs more, but I have really noticed that if I try and really excel my happy moments, then it's literally equal and opposite, and will counter with like a bigger wave on sadness. So,
but you can't experience happiness without sadness.
No, which is why I like to keep the line flat.
That sounds quite challenging. That sounds quite sad to me, as someone that experienced highs and lows.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not very good at celebrating my wins.
How much would you prefer to not have ever gone that low?
If it meant that I never got to go as high, then I would choose to go as low. Yeah.
I'd sacrifice a bit of high to never have to go that low.
No, I disagree, because how are you going to feel those highs if you can't understand lows? You know, it's duality, it's hindsight. You know, and don't get me wrong, those lows suck. But those highs, when you feel them, when everything goes right and you get to have this amazing experience, incredible. You know? Incredible. So coping mechanisms for you, keeping busy.
Yeah, and just general perspective. It's like, if I'm sad, who cares?
You're the gift of a rational brain.
Yeah.
Maybe the curse.
I think it's a gift. Then another thing, just on the flat line of happiness and sadness. Well, what shouldn't necessarily be a flat line, but I prefer to try and keep things as close to that as possible. Is my number one goal in life is to be productive, in terms of I have a goal and I want to move towards that goal every single day. The number one way I can guarantee that I am in the perfect mental state for that is to not let the highs get too high and to not let the lows get too low, because I need to be in a predictable state to be able to work effectively.
So you're keeping yourself grounded on purpose.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, I think I probably check in with myself more than I give myself credit for. But because I live basically the same day on repeat 7 days a week, nothing changes. So it's, okay, today is annoying because I had to drive 2.5 hours to go to a gig. And that meant that I lost out on the 2.5 hours to the gig. I lost out on the 3 hours of the gig and the 2.5 hour drive back, that I couldn't really do any YouTube work. It was doing the gig. That was the work that day. That is frustrating. And it's sort of one of the reasons why I'm trying to taper down the annoying gigs. That's the one I've got this Saturday. And then I've got a gig straight after that as well.
Yeah.
Just not looking forward to it. Anyway, the just reflecting on my day every single day. Like, my dad calls me at the end of every day. And that, I think, is actually my emotional process on this happened today, this happened today, this happened today. That wasn't very good. This went well. Process done.
So it's a debrief.
Yeah, literally.
It's a daily check-in.
Yeah. That's probably, in terms of my routine, the one thing that has stayed the same for 16 years.
Wow.
Fun fact of me, I can do a backflip.
You can do more than a backflip.
Among many other flips.
Yeah.
People have seen backflips on streams.
Yeah, true. Okay. Cool. And our mission for this podcast is to...
Do you want to just redo the intro?
You want to?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so, because I didn't mention anything about the mission, and we want to...
I'll tell you what, if we have two,
thought.
we can... Yeah,
Yeah.
we can have two. Do you want to do the fun facts as well, or...
No, I'll just chop it. It's fine.
Cool. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 3. Can you believe it? We're already blowing up. We're trending. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Trending in our group chat. Some people moaning at us. Yeah.
What we're aiming to do with this podcast is just have deep, meaningful conversations. We're trying to inspire other people through our shared experiences, through our own experiences. And we just hope that we can reach other people and maybe give them a slight insight to maybe how they might be able to change some thoughts. Today, we're talking about sadness, deep topic. We're going to try and skim across the water and hopefully delve in deeper as time goes on throughout the podcast. But today, we're jumping in with sadness.
I'll do like a water effect.
Right.
And then, did you want to do closing thoughts? Have you? Yeah.
Do closing thoughts.
The things that I'm not allowed to see.
No. Right, Will, as you know, we always wrap up every episode with our closing thoughts. It's where I've got these questions you haven't seen and I fire them at you. Yeah. You try your best to answer.
Do you want quick answers or do you want...
I want off the top.
Okay.
Yeah. Is sadness part of a meaningful life? Can you have a meaningful life without sadness?
I don't think so. I think you need the sadness there to put in perspective the highs. With that perspective, obviously, I like to keep my graph pretty shallow. But then again, even the highs that I do have, I couldn't have without experiencing the sadness.
Okay. Can sadness exist without hope?
I think sadness is a response to things being different to how you would like them or expected them to go. Hope is the anticipation of what you expect something to be. So the question was, can sadness exist without hope?
Yes.
I don't think it can. Because hope your expectation of a situation are the same thing.
Mhm.
And that's usually why you're sad, because things aren't the way you want them to be, because you expected them to be a certain way.
Wow. Very insightful. Last things for you, wrapping up today. What would a world look like without sadness?
I mean, the joke answer is everyone would just be happy, but that's not the reality. I think people would process their sadness through anger, and I think actually you'd probably get quite a violent world, because you wouldn't have a harmless outlet for the way you're feeling. If you're feeling happy, that's fine, because you're not an immediate threat. But what are the closest emotions to sadness? I would say most people's default, if they're not allowing themselves to feel sad, it chooses to be anger or moodiness. It's like that will make everybody in your personal life particularly rejecting of you, as well as obviously potentially threatened by you. So I think a lot of people would probably be outcast. Do I think a lot of people would be like, okay, just live my life? I mean, I don't know what sadness is, so
Yeah.
I think you'd probably get the groups, wouldn't you? As you have now, is you have like a percentage of the population that are sad, but I think that population that are sad would just move to being in one of the other groups of, you know, I'm angry, I'm grumpy, I'm, you know, the different levels of anger, I suppose. But people wouldn't have an outlet for when something goes wrong.
Okay.
Like you need to feel sadness.
You need expression.
Trying to be a human without being able to feel when something hasn't gone the way you wanted. It's like I can't even fathom that. It's like the whole idea in life of I just got this job or I just lost this job. So imagine if you couldn't feel sadness when you lost that job. It's like, what do you feel? It's just immediate anger. So many bosses would just get knocked out. I'm sorry, we can't keep you on. You haven't passed probation. I mean, what do you can't feel sad. You're not gonna be happy about it. It's yeah, it'd be an interesting world. Probably not one I want to live in.
I like where your thoughts went with that. I do. I thought that was really insightful. For me, a world without sadness, I think for me, it would feel almost inherently not meaningless, but almost emotionless, soulless. Because as I explained, for me, you can experience the highs, you can experience the lows, and in there is life. But I think if you can't experience those lows, how can you understand what a high feels like, and vice versa? So I feel like if there was just no lows, you'd just feel somewhat soulless. That is us done for today.
Just one more thing on that, because that was interesting. If we lived in a world that emitted sadness, I would say, are we living in a world now where there are other emotions that other multiverse Earths have a far wider emotional range? So we obviously know the main ones of like happy, sad, anger, joy, cheerfulness, all the different emotions, depression, anxiety, all of these. There's probably another world and universe, if you believe in the multiverse theory, which I do.
Absolutely.
Like, there's probably way more emotions, but we are stupid monkey brains, as you were saying earlier.
Narrow-minded.
Don't have the ability to feel. So we are probably living. Somebody else is having this conversation. Connor and Will are having this conversation in the multiverse, where we're asking the question. But this podcast is actually about shibboleths. But we can't feel that emotion. Their emotional range is like 18 million long, because that's not that much for them, because they live until they're 4,962.
Yeah, going on one. I like it.
I apologise. I had 2 sugars in my tea.
No, but it's valid. And it almost suggests that in this world that we're living right now, there's probably people that feel emotions that others can't.
Yeah, I would say so. And also feel emotions more strongly than others.
Yeah.
And obviously your brain is a muscle.
Is that a blessing or a curse? To feel emotions more strongly than others?
I think it's a curse.
I think it's a blessing. But I think it's a double-edged sword.
You're the emotional one out of 2 of us.
Oh, I am definitely the emotional one out of 2.
I'm the flat line.
Yeah. What are you?
Yeah. Let us know.
You viewer at home. You single viewer.
Yeah. Hey, Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah, should we wrap it there?
Let's do it.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out DistroKid and Huel down below, and we'll see you in the next one.